Stop. Do not check it yet. Whatever is waiting on that screen will still be there in 40 minutes, and you will be a completely different person when you read it. Chosen one, this is urgent, and I am going to tell you immediately why the order matters, because the order is the entire message. This morning, within about 90 seconds of opening your eyes, your hand reached for something before you had produced a single thought of your own. You did not decide to do that. Nobody decides to do that. And before you had accomplished anything at all today, you were already tired. Not sleepy, tired. And you stopped finding that strange a long time ago. Here is the alert. There is a window of roughly 20 minutes after you wake in which your mind accepts a frame almost without resistance. And for years now, you have been handing that window to strangers. Now hear me carefully, because I am not going to shame you, and I want that established before we go one step further. This is not an alarm aimed at you. It is an alarm raised for you. You have not been undisciplined. You have been overwritten before you were conscious enough to consent to it. There are two versions of the next 90 days of your life, and the distance between them is not talent, and it is not money, and it is not favor. It is 20 minutes. Before this message ends, three things will happen. You are going to understand the exact mechanism that has been deciding your mood, your judgment, and your capacity before you have eaten breakfast. You are going to feel the release of years you have filed under bad luck, because tonight you will learn they were not luck. And you are going to leave with a sequence you can run tomorrow morning in under 10 minutes. That puts the pen back into your own hand. Let me give you one piece of it right now, so you know this is not an hour of alarm with nothing underneath it. Think about a day recently that went badly, not catastrophically, just badly. Now go back further than the bad part. Go to the first 8 minutes after your eyes opened that morning. Something entered you there. A message, a number on a screen, a headline, a remembered obligation that landed like a hand on the chest. And here is the thing you have never noticed. You did not experience that as information. You experienced it as weather. From that moment forward, every ordinary event of the day was read through it. A neutral email became cold. A quiet colleague became distant. Traffic became personal. Somebody was slow, and it was aimed at you. Nothing that day was actually against you. You were wearing a lens that had been installed before you were awake enough to refuse it. And here is the part almost nobody knows. That lens does not wear off with coffee. It does not wear off with time. It wears off with replacement, and if nothing replaces it, you carry it until you fall asleep. So here is the command, and it is small, and it is for today. Before you check anything else, finish this, and type, "The gate is mine," in the comments, not as a slogan, as the first act you have performed today that was actually yours, in the correct order, before anyone else got the chance to write on you. Now let me show you the mechanism, because you deserve the machinery and not just the warning. We call this the first frame. Human beings do not evaluate events. We evaluate events against a reference. Your mind is not a camera taking neutral pictures. It is an interpreter, and every interpreter needs a starting assumption before it can begin work. That starting assumption is what I am calling the frame, and the frame is not chosen consciously. It is set by whatever arrives first. This is not a spiritual theory. It is one of the most consistently demonstrated findings in the study of human judgment. Present a person with a number, any number, even one they know is meaningless, and their next unrelated estimate moves toward it. Show them a word associated with rudeness and they interpret a neutral face as hostile a moment later. The mind does not resist the first thing, it builds on it, and the effect is strongest when the mind is least defended. Which brings us to the timing. There is a period after waking when the brain is transitioning out of its sleep state and has not yet fully assembled the part of you that evaluates, filters, and refuses. that period is short. For most people, it runs somewhere between 15 and 30 minutes, and it is the single most suggestible window of your entire day. Your ancestors filled that window with silence, sky, the sound of animals, the face of someone they loved, and the first prayer of the morning. Not because they were more devout, because there was nothing else available. You fill it with a device that has been engineered by very intelligent people whose income depends on your attention, and which contains, on any given morning, a random assortment of other people demands, other people emergencies, and other people opinions of themselves. I want you to hold both of those pictures at the same time and understand what has happened to us in a single generation. Now let me do the thing with your history, because this is where the relief is. Every time you have called yourself lazy for a day that fell apart, you were wrong about what happened. Every time you decided you had lost your edge, or that you used to be sharper, or that something in you had quietly broken and could not be named, every morning you woke up with intention and had lost it by 10 o'clock and concluded that you simply cannot sustain anything. You were not failing at discipline. You were operating all day inside a frame you did not install, and no amount of discipline can outperform a frame. Discipline operates inside the frame. It is a passenger. It has never once been the driver in your life or in anyone else. You have been trying to win a race while someone else set the direction of the track before you woke up. So here is what to do about it, and it costs nothing and starts tomorrow. The rule is simply this: nothing enters before something is placed. Do not fight the phone. Do not throw it across the room. Do not build an elaborate system you will abandon by Thursday. Just do not let anything in until you have deliberately put something in first. It can be small, 60 seconds of stillness before your feet reach the floor. One sentence spoken out loud that names who you are and what today belongs to. One page, one prayer that is not a request. Anything, as long as it is chosen by you and it goes first. Because the window does not care what fills it. It only cares what is first. And for the first time in years, first can be you. If you have been carrying the label lazy for something that was never laziness, type "I was not lazy" in the comments and let that word go tonight. You have been paying for a crime you did not commit. But there is a second layer under this, and it is the one that explains why you cannot simply decide to stop. Because here is what I know about you. This is not the first time you have heard something like this. You have tried it. You left the phone in another room. It went well for 4 days, maybe 6, and then one morning you reached anyway, and you did not even remember deciding to. And you drew the obvious conclusion: I do not have the willpower. That conclusion is wrong, and it has been quietly destroying your confidence in yourself for years. So let me take it apart. We call this the hijacked hour. Start with what actually happens in your body at the moment of waking, because almost nobody has been told this. Waking is not a neutral event. There is a measurable rise in stress hormone in the first 30 minutes after your eyes open. It happens in every healthy human being. It is not a symptom of anxiety. It is the system coming online. And the first thing an ancient nervous system does when it comes online is run a scan. The scan asks one question: is anything wrong? That question is involuntary. You cannot decline to ask it, and it is loud, and it stays loud until it is answered. And an unanswered scan produces exactly the low grinding dread you have been waking up with. Now, understand what your hand is doing when it reaches. It is not seeking entertainment. It is not weakness, and it is not addiction, in the way people casually use that word. Your hand is reaching for the fastest available answer to a question your body is not able to stop asking. The device answers in under 2 seconds. Nothing else in your life answers that fast. Not prayer, not stillness, not a journal, not a walk. 2 seconds, and the scan gets a response. The problem is the quality of the answer, because what the device actually reports back is a list of things that are wrong, most of them not yours, most of them not actionable, and all of them arriving during the exact window when your mind accepts a frame without resistance. So the scan asked, "Is anything wrong?" And the answer came back, yes, 11 things, and 3 of them are on fire, and 1 of them involves you. That is the frame you then wear for 16 hours. Now let me do the thing with your history, because I want this one to land where the shame has been sitting. Every morning routine you have ever abandoned did not fail because you are inconsistent. It failed because it tried to take away the answer without ever addressing the question. You removed the phone and left the scan running, unanswered, in a body flooded with stress hormone. Of course you reached. You were not being undisciplined. You were being merciful to yourself in the only way available. You have never once failed at this. You have simply been trying to win by subtraction, and this cannot be won by subtraction. It can only be won by substitution. So here is what to do, and it takes about 90 seconds. And it works, because it answers the actual question. Tomorrow morning before your feet touch the floor, answer the scan out loud. Say this: "Nothing is wrong that requires me in the next 10 minutes. Then put one hand flat on your chest, because the scan is a body process and it responds to physical signal faster than it responds to argument. Feel the weight of your own hand. Breathe once, slowly, all the way down. You have now answered the question. The urgency to reach will drop noticeably, not entirely, but enough. And into that gap, place your first thing. That is the whole method. Answer the scan, then choose the frame. Everything else in your morning is negotiable. If your hand has been reaching for 11 years and you finally understand why, type "the scan is answered" in the comments. Now let me show you a man who understood this so completely that it nearly killed him, and who did it anyway. In the 6th chapter of Daniel, a decree is signed. Anyone who petitions any god or man other than the king for 30 days is thrown to the lions. It is aimed at Daniel specifically. Everybody knows it. He is the second most powerful man in an empire, and he has just been legally sentenced by his own success. Now watch what he does. And watch the order, because the order is the whole passage. The text says that when Daniel knew the writing was signed, he went into his house, and his windows being open toward Jerusalem, he knelt 3 times that day and prayed and gave thanks, as he did before. Notice everything in that sentence. He does not respond to the decree first. He does not call his allies. He does not draft a defense or seek an audience or negotiate. A death sentence with his name on it has just become law, and the first thing he does is return to the frame he was already in. And notice the detail about the windows, because it is not decoration. The windows being open toward Jerusalem. That orientation was not arranged on the day of the crisis. It was set long before, in ordinary time, when there was no decree and no danger and nothing at stake. He had already decided which direction his house faced. That is what a first frame is. It is not something you construct during the emergency. It is the direction your windows were already facing when the emergency arrived. And then, having returned to his frame, he deals with the lions in that order. The lions were real. The threat was real. He did not pretend otherwise. He simply refused to let the decree write the frame through which he would face the decree. There is a Hebrew word worth taking out of tonight, shamar. It means to keep, to guard, to watch over. It is the word used when man is placed in the garden to tend it and keep it. It is the same family of meaning behind the instruction in Proverbs to guard your heart above all else, because from it flow the springs of life. Guard is a military word. You do not guard something that nobody wants. You post a watch at a gate because there is traffic, and because not all of the traffic belongs inside. Nobody ever told you that your first 20 minutes were a gate, so you never posted anyone there. Now, before we go deeper, I want to put something in front of you because you deserve to know it is coming rather than have it dropped on you later. Over the past several years, in research settings with no interest whatsoever in faith, scientists have been studying why two people can receive the same morning, the same information, the same difficulty, and one of them stays clear, while the other spends the day inside a fog they cannot argue their way out of. They expected to find a difference in temperament. They did not. What they found was a physical condition of the brain, and the important part is this: it can be interrupted, and it can be restored. I am going to come back and tell you exactly what they found. Not yet, because there are two more layers in you that have to be exposed first, and one of them is going to change how you read your entire last decade. So carry this question with me. What if the reason mornings decide so much is not psychological at all, but structural? And what if the structure is repairable? Now, I want to take you into the layer under the mechanism, because understanding what happens in a morning is useful, and understanding what it has done to a decade is something else entirely. I want you to look at a stretch of your life you have written off, a year or 2 or 5 that you describe with a shrug, a rough patch, a bad season, a time when nothing seemed to work, and you eventually stopped trying to explain it and just called it a hard chapter. You have carried a private interpretation of that period. It usually sounds like one of 3 sentences. I lost my momentum, something in me changed, or the one that does the most damage, that was simply not my season. We call this the pre-written day. Here is the mechanism, and I want you to follow it carefully, because it operates at a scale most people never consider. A day framed by threat produces threat behavior. That is not a moral statement. It is a physiological one. Inside a threat frame, your risk tolerance drops, your generosity drops. Your reading of ambiguous behavior in other people shifts toward hostile. Your time horizon shortens dramatically, meaning you make decisions for the next 4 hours instead of the next 4 years. And your creativity, which requires a nervous system that feels safe enough to wander, largely shuts down. Now, multiply that by 300 days, the opportunity you did not pursue, because on the morning it appeared you were inside a scarcity frame and it looked like risk rather than opening. The relationship that cooled, because for 100 consecutive days, you read neutral messages as coldness and slowly withdrew from someone who had not moved. The idea you did not act on, because ideas require a frame that has room in it, and yours had none. The conversation you should have had, postponed each morning by a mind operating on a 4-hour horizon. None of those were decisions about your life. Every one of them was a decision made from inside a lens installed before 7 in the morning by something you did not choose. So, here is the recontextualization, and I want you to receive it rather than merely understand it. That season was not a verdict on your capacity. That season was 300 days of good judgment applied to a distorted picture. You were not broken during those years. You were reading accurately from a bad instrument, which is the most tragic form of error there is, because it produces confident mistakes. You did not have a bad season. You had a badly framed one. And a frame is one of the few things in a human life that can genuinely be changed this week. Let me put one more thing beside that, from the 18th and 19th chapters of Kings, because the pattern is the same, and it is very old. Elijah has just come off the greatest public victory of his life. Fire from heaven, the prophets of Baal defeated, the entire nation watching. And then a message arrives from Jezebel. One message, and this man, who stood alone against 450 men the previous afternoon, runs into the wilderness and asks to die. People read that as a collapse of faith. Look at the sequence instead. The victory was yesterday. The message was the first input of the new day. And the frame that message installed was strong enough to overwrite a miracle he had personally witnessed with his own eyes 24 hours earlier. That is how powerful a first frame is. It will overwrite direct evidence. It will overwrite fire from heaven. And now watch how God repairs him, because the order of that is the teaching. He is not corrected. He is not rebuked for cowardice. He is allowed to sleep. He is fed. He sleeps again. He is fed again. Only after his body has been restored does the conversation happen, and even then, it happens in a very specific sequence. A great wind, and God was not in the wind. An earthquake, and God was not in the earthquake. A fire, and God was not in the fire. And after the fire, a low whisper. Notice that the loud things came first, and none of them carried the message. The instruction that changed his life arrived in the quietest input available, and it could only be received once everything loud had passed. Your mornings are that passage. The wind and the earthquake and the fire are already on your screen, waiting, and there is nothing in them for you. The whisper is available too. It simply cannot compete for the same window, and it will never try. If you have been reading a distorted picture and calling it your life, type, "My day is mine," in the comments. Now I want to speak to 3 people specifically, because if I do not, one of you leaves before the part that was actually meant for you. The first is thinking. This is a productivity tip dressed in scripture. Do not use your phone in the morning. I have heard this from 6 different people this year. You are right to be suspicious, and I want to be precise about the difference. Everything you have heard on this subject was about a behavior. Do this, do not do that. What I am describing is not a behavior. It is a window with a mechanism inside it, and a physiological reason the window exists, and the reason every behavior-based version of this advice has failed for you is that it never told you what the window was for. The second is thinking, my life does not allow this. I have children. I have a job that begins before I am awake. 20 protected minutes is a fantasy for people with different circumstances than mine. I hear that, and I am not going to argue with your actual life. So take the version that survives contact with it. It is not 20 minutes. It is the first 60 seconds before your feet touch the floor, where you answer the scan and place one sentence. That is available to almost everyone, and it is most of the effect. And I would rather give you something true and small than something impressive you will never do. The third is thinking something quieter. They are thinking, I have already lost too many years to this. Learning the mechanism now just tells me exactly what I wasted. Stay with me and hear this now rather than at the end. Nothing you learn tonight makes those years worse. It makes them explicable, and explicable is the first condition of anything being different. Grief for a wasted decade is real, and I will not talk you out of it. But you cannot grieve properly for something you still believe was your fault, and it was not your fault, and now you know why. Now, put both feet flat on the floor. This takes 40 seconds. Bring your attention to the muscles around your eyes. Do not change anything, just find them. Most people listening will discover a small continuous holding there, a squint that has been running all day without instruction. Now bring your attention to your breath and notice where it stops. For most people right now it is stopping high, around the collarbones, in a body that has been mildly braced since it woke up. Let the eyes go soft. Let the breath drop 2 inches lower. And notice this, because it is the entire lesson in miniature. Nothing about your circumstances changed in the last 10 seconds. Only the frame did, and the room already looks different. I want to take you somewhere before we go on. 90 days from now, an ordinary Thursday. Nothing dramatic has occurred, and I am not going to promise you a transformed life in 3 months, because I do not know your circumstances, and I will not sell you a fantasy. But here is the difference. and it is not small. You wake, and there is a moment before anything enters. You answer the scan, you place your first thing, and by the time the world arrives, it arrives into a room that already has a shape, and it has to fit itself into your day, instead of your day fitting itself into it. The events of that Thursday are not better than the events of today. Somebody is still difficult. Something still costs more than it should. But you meet all of it from inside a frame you built, and so you make 3 or 4 decisions that day that the other version of you would not have made. Multiply that by 90 days, and you are not living an improved life. You are living a different one. And now, I have to tell you the part I have been holding, because there is a layer under all of this, and it is the one that reorganizes everything I have said so far. For years, you have prayed a particular kind of prayer. Cover me, protect me, put a hedge around my mind and my home and my children. Keep the thing that has been after me away from me. And there is nothing wrong with that prayer. I pray it. But I want to show you something in the oldest text we have about what a human being was actually assigned to do, because I think it has been mistranslated in your heart, even if it was translated correctly on the page. In the 2nd chapter of Genesis, the man is placed in the garden with 2 verbs, to work it and to keep it. That second verb is shamar, to guard, to watch over, to stand at the boundary of something and decide what comes in. Now, sit with the implication of that, because it is enormous, and almost nobody says it out loud. The garden was not guarded on the human behalf. The guarding was the human assignment. We call this the gatekeeper. And here is the turn, and I want to give it to you gently, because it is going to reorganize a great deal. Much of what you have been asking God to keep away from you has not been breaking in. It has been walking in through a gate that you open yourself every morning with your own hand before you are conscious enough to know you are doing it. I need to be careful here, and I am going to be, because this is exactly the place where this kind of message turns cruel, and I have no interest in that. I am not telling you that everything difficult in your life was your fault. That is not true, and it is not what I said. Real things happen to people that they did not invite and could not have prevented, and anyone who tells you otherwise is selling a cruelty dressed as empowerment. What I am telling you is narrower and far more useful. A significant portion of what you have experienced as attack was traffic you admitted, not intentionally, not knowingly, but admitted. And now, understand why. That is the best news you have received in a long time. If you are under attack, you are powerless. You wait, you endure, you ask someone stronger to intervene, and you hope. That is the entire arrangement, and you have been living inside it for years, and it is exhausting in a very particular way, because there is nothing to do. But if you are a gatekeeper who has been asleep at the post, everything changes in the moment you wake up. You cannot revoke an attack. You can absolutely revoke an invitation. That is the difference between a victim and a gatekeeper. And it is not a difference in strength. It is a difference in position. You have been standing in the wrong position, praying the prayers of someone with no authority over a gate you were actually given the keys to. Now let me do the thing with your history one final time, because this is the one that has been the most expensive. Think of the days that felt oppressive for no traceable reason, where a heaviness arrived and you could not locate a cause, and you concluded that something was coming against you spiritually, and you fought it all day with prayer, and it did not lift. Some of those were exactly what you thought. I believe that, and I am not going to explain it away. But some of them, and I suspect more of them than you would guess, began at 6:40 in the morning with a screen, and a piece of information about a stranger, and a frame that installed itself in a mind that was not yet awake enough to post a guard. And you spent the whole day fighting the fruit of something you had personally admitted at the root, which is why the fighting never worked. That is not condemnation. That is the return of your authority, and you get to use it tomorrow. So here is what a gatekeeper actually does, and it is 3 questions, and it takes about 10 seconds once you know them. Before anything enters, ask, is this mine? Not is it interesting, not is it true, not is it important to somebody. Is it mine? Most of what arrives in your morning belongs to people you will never meet, about situations you cannot affect. Second, is this the hour? A thing can be entirely yours and still not belong in the first 20 minutes. Almost everything genuinely yours will survive being read at 9. Third, what will this install? Not, what does it say? What will it leave behind in me after I have finished reading it and moved on to something else? Because that residue, not the content, is the actual transaction. 3 questions. Is it mine? Is it the hour? What will it install? That is the whole of the office you were given, and you have been standing at that gate your entire life without ever being told it was a post. If you have been praying like a victim over a gate you were given the keys to, type, I am the gatekeeper in the comments, and then stay, because I owe you the answer I promised at the beginning. I told you researchers had found something about why 2 people receive the same morning and one stays clear while the other spends the day in a fog. I waited until now on purpose. A solution is only usable once you understand the exact shape of the problem it solves, and you now understand the shape completely. But before I give it to you, there is one thing that has probably been bothering you for the last several minutes, and I want to name it rather than leave it working against me. You already knew some of this, not the mechanism, not the timing, not the gate, but you knew mornings mattered. You have known that for years, and you did it anyway. Why does knowing not produce change? That is the real question underneath this entire message, and it is not a discipline problem, and it is not a faith problem. Something else is going on. And the answer is not in your intentions. It is in the condition of the instrument your intentions are running on. And that is the piece I have not given you yet. Let me set everything down in plain language before we go further, because you have received a great deal, and I want you to be able to carry it out of here. Here is what you know now, that you did not know an hour ago. Your mind does not evaluate events. It evaluates events against whatever arrived first, and the window in which that first thing is accepted without resistance opens the moment you wake and lasts about 20 minutes. Your hand reaches into that window because waking triggers an involuntary threat scan, and the device is the fastest answer available, which is why subtraction has never worked, and substitution always does. A day framed by threat produces threat behavior, and 300 such days produce what you have been calling a bad season. And the gate at the front of all of it was never heaven job. It was yours, and it can be reclaimed tomorrow morning. Here is what to do with it. Answer the scan before your feet touch the floor. Place your first thing before anything places itself. Run the 3 questions at the gate. Nothing enters before something is placed. And here is who you are while you do it. You are not a person under siege waiting for rescue. You are a gatekeeper who was never told there was a gate. Standing at a post you have held your entire life without knowing its name. The post was never the problem. The sleep was, and sleep is a condition, and conditions can be treated. If that is landing, type, "The post is mine," in the comments before we continue. You now know where the gate is. Knowing where it is does not wake the guard. And there is one more thing, and this is the moment I promised you. Do you remember the question I asked you to hold at the beginning of this message? What if the reason mornings decide so much is not psychological at all, but structural? And what if the structure is repairable? Here is the answer. It won the Nobel Prize. In 1981, the prize was awarded for work done by Dr. Roger Sperry. And what that work established, in language far more careful than mine, is that the two hemispheres of the human brain were built to operate as a synchronized whole, rather than as two departments filing separate reports. Researchers call that synchronized condition whole brain activation, and when a mind is in it, something specific becomes available. Pattern recognition sharpens, interpretation stops running on autopilot. The mind stops laboring toward conclusions and begins arriving at them. Now, here is why that matters for everything I have described tonight. The frame you wear is not a belief, it is a product of how your mind is processing. In the synchronized state, a difficult message stays a difficult message. In the divided state, the same message becomes weather, and it spreads across everything, and you cannot argue your way out of it because the problem was never in the argument. That is why willpower has failed you here. That is why every morning routine collapsed. You have been trying to hold a frame with the conscious part of your mind while the processing underneath it was running divided. And then comes the number I have never been able to put down. Roughly 98% of young children test at what the research calls creative genius level, not the gifted ones, nearly all of them. By adulthood, fewer than 1 in 1,000 still measure there. It is not that a few people were born extraordinary. Almost all of us were, and almost all of us lost it. And what happens between those two numbers is not sin, and it is not age, and it is not a failure of prayer. It is an erosion produced by exactly the life I have been describing. Interruption, division, a mind that is never permitted to be one thing. Starting from the first minute, it opens its eyes. That is the quiet theft of our lifetime. Not money, not even time. The instrument itself, taken so gradually that nobody can name the year it went. Let me tell you about two people before I tell you what changed for them. A woman from California described her mornings the way you might describe a room you enter, already exhausted. She had prayed with discipline for years. She journaled, she served, and she kept arriving at the same experience, over and over. She believed every word she said and could not feel the reality underneath it, not in her body, not in the texture of an ordinary Tuesday. About 10 days into something she almost did not try, she said, a channel that had been closed simply opened, not because she pushed harder, because the receiver had been repaired. A colleague of the research team described it differently and more clinically, which is why I find it persuasive. He said the strangest part was not that he felt better, it was that he became aware of how much interpretation he had been doing without noticing. Situations he would previously have read as hostile simply read as neutral. Nothing in his circumstances had changed. His processing had. Both of those trace back to what a specific team built. Here is what it is. A group of neuroscientists led by Dr. Daniel Barone, a neurologist in New York City, spent years on this problem. They began with over an hour of clinical neural sync technology, the kind of whole brain activation protocol used in specialized medical settings, and, through a long process of compression and refinement, they reduced it to an 8-minute targeted auditory sequence. 8 minutes. Headphones, eyes closed. That is the entirety of the physical requirement. They call it the genius switch. And now put it next to everything you have learned tonight, because this is the reason I waited to tell you. You have a window of about 20 minutes each morning, during which your mind accepts a frame with almost no resistance. You have been giving it away because your body asks an involuntary question, and the fastest answer available is a screen. The instruction I gave you was to place something first. 8 minutes with headphones, eyes closed, before anything else enters, is not a routine you have to sustain by willpower. It is the substitution the window was waiting for. Understand what it is not. It is not a meditation app. It is not a track designed to move your mood for a morning. It is not another audio file, promising focus, that leaves you exactly as divided as it found you. The Genius Switch is a targeted auditory sequence engineered on the foundation of the Nobel Prize research to reconnect the two hemispheres and restore the synchronized state that was your default condition as a child. You do not meditate while it runs. You repeat nothing. You do not have to believe in it, and Dr. Barone is direct about that. It works underneath your awareness. Miss a day and nothing unwinds. You simply return, and if you have tried other audio before and found it hollow, he addresses that without defensiveness. Most of what is available targets a fraction of the picture. What his team built targets hemisphere synchronization at the whole brain level through a multi-layer protocol developed across years of clinical refinement. Different mechanism, different category of result. Now let me say something plainly, and hear it as a filter and not as a pitch. The Genius Switch is not for everyone. It is for the chosen one who understands that God assigned the gate to the human being and who is finally willing to stand at it, awake. The person who has been sincere for years, with nobody applauding, who has tried every version of discipline and blamed themselves each time it failed, and who is finally willing to stop treating the fog as a character flaw and start treating it as something that has a specific address. Most people who hear this will move on and check the screen. They have made peace with the reduced version of their own mind. You are still here, this deep into a message this long, on a day you were told to watch this before anything else. That is not an accident. That is exactly the kind of persistence this was built for, on the cost. Colleagues of Dr. Barone told him that what he had built would be an extraordinary value at $500, and they were not being generous. In-person neurofeedback runs about $300 an hour. A home machine runs about $7,000. That is the market this sits inside. It was not released at $500, not at $200, not at $100. It was released at $49, and on the page his team maintains there is a further $10 off, bringing it to $39. One-time, lifetime access. Delivered by email, immediately, nothing shipped. 4 things come with it at no additional cost. A guided visualization from a top-rated creator on the Calm app. A grocery guide naming 10 common American foods that produce mental fog with shortcuts that save most households more than $100 a month. A manifestation text over 100 years old that most modern material was quietly built from, and a printable page of the 5 habits that shape a future, and it carries an unconditional money-back guarantee. Listen once, listen 80 times. If it does not do for you what it has done for more than 18,000 people, every dollar returns, with no conditions attached to that. I will give you the only piece of urgency that is actually true, and it is not a countdown. $39 is not guaranteed past this page. His team has communicated that the price is going to increase. That is not a tactic, and I will not dress it up as one. But the urgency that matters more has nothing to do with money. It is that you have a window tomorrow morning. You will have one the morning after that, and every single one of those windows will be filled by something. The only question that has ever been on the table is what? One thing worth naming directly. If you go searching the usual places for anything that sounds similar, you will find tracks. Dr. Barone and his team examined a number of them and found that most had no neural sync technology inside them at all. They carried the name because the barrier to naming something is essentially zero. The mechanism is the whole difference, and the mechanism only exists in what his team actually built. The direct page is the only verified source, and that is where the link points. If your spirit resonates with what has been described, the link in the description below and in the pinned comment goes to where his team made it available, nowhere else. You can read every detail on their page before deciding anything at all. Now let me return you to the deeper current of this message, because I do not want you to misunderstand what a tool is. A tool does not replace God. It does not replace obedience. It does not stand at the gate for you, and it does not decide what comes in. What God is doing in you was never conditional on any object, but a tool that restores the receiver gives what God is doing more of what it was designed to land in. That is all it is, and that is not a small thing. And before this message ends, I am going to speak something over your life that I have not said yet. There is a specific reason this reached you on this particular morning rather than any other, and when I name it, I think something is going to settle in you. Stay for it. Here is the last layer, and it is the one that turns everything I have said from a defensive practice into an offensive one. Everything so far has been about keeping things out. Guard the gate, answer the scan. Do not let the wrong thing in first. That is necessary, and it is not sufficient. Because a gate that is only ever closed protects an empty city. We call this the reclaimed channel. Here is the symptom, and it is a strange one, so sit with it. There have been periods in your life when you were not under pressure, when nothing was wrong, when the mornings were quiet and there was space, and you did not flourish in them either. You have noticed that, and it has confused you for years, and you have never told anyone because it makes no sense. You explained it by saying you need pressure to perform, or that you are the kind of person who does not do well with too much freedom. That is not it. Here is what actually happened. The window was empty, not hijacked, empty, and an empty window does not stay empty. Your mind will fill it with whatever is nearest, and what is nearest, in the absence of anything placed, is the unresolved, the unfinished conversation, the old regret, the financial arithmetic, the thing that person said in 2019. So, the quiet mornings were not restful. They were colonized from the inside instead of the outside, which is worse, because there was nobody to blame and no gate to close. Now, understand what this means about the whole practice. The instruction was never protect the window. The instruction is fill it deliberately. The guarding exists so that the filling is possible. Shamar, to keep, was always paired with the first verb in that sentence, to work it. Guarding without cultivation is not stewardship. It is just a locked door with nothing behind it. So the recontextualization is this. You were not wrong to seek peace and quiet. You were simply given half of the assignment and blamed for the results of the missing half. And the return of agency is the simplest thing I will say tonight. Whatever occupies your first window becomes the interpreter for the following 16 hours. So place something there, worth interpreting through. A sentence about who you are, a page of something ancient, 8 minutes with your eyes closed, and something restoring the instrument itself. It does not have to be long. It has to be first, and it has to be chosen. That is the whole of it. Guard the gate, then fill the room. Now, before we move into the closing, I want to say one direct thing, because this message has been about order from the beginning, and it would be inconsistent of me to end it any other way. If you are honest with yourself in this moment, there is something you already know about what you are supposed to do next. Not in general, specifically. Something has been sitting there for the last several minutes while you have listened. Everything I have told you tonight about what happens in the gap between knowing and doing applies to this exact minute. Clarity does not keep. It fades by evening, and it is gone by tomorrow, and you will have the memory of having felt something rather than the thing itself. If the genius switch is what you are meant to act on today, the link is in the description below and in the pinned comment. Go there before you close this message and before you check anything else, while the clarity is still in the room with you. 18,000 people made that decision. Almost none of them made it, eventually. Now, I want to take you into one more morning, and then we will close. It is some ordinary weekday, far enough from tonight that this is not a fantasy about next week. Your eyes open, and here is the first difference, and it is small enough that you might miss it. There is a gap, a quiet half-second between waking and reaching, and in that gap there is somebody home. You put your hand on your chest. You answer the question your body always asks. Nothing is wrong that requires me in the next 10 minutes. And your body believes you, because you have told it the same true thing many mornings in a row now, and bodies learn by repetition rather than persuasion. Then you place your first thing. 8 minutes, eyes closed, nothing entering. And when you finally open the day arrives into a room that already has a shape. Now watch what happens at 11 o'clock that morning, because this is the part I most want you to see. Something goes wrong. It is not enormous. A message that would once have set the tone for the entire afternoon. And you read it, and it is difficult, and it stays exactly the size it actually is. It does not spread. It does not become weather. It is a difficult message on a Tuesday, and it does not get to be anything else. That is what a restored instrument does. Not a life without difficulty that stays its own size. And here is the thing I want you to feel most. You do not have to fight for that. There is no discipline in that morning. There is no white knuckling, and no resolution, and no promising yourself again. It is simply the natural output of an instrument running the way it was built to run, doing what it did without effort when you were 7 years old. Now, put down whatever is in your hands, both feet flat. This is the last thing we will do together, and it takes about 90 seconds. Close your eyes. I want you to picture a gate, not a metaphorical fog, an actual gate in an actual wall with a road running up to it. Make it specific. See the material it is made of. Now look at the ground in front of it and see the marks in the dirt. Years of traffic that came through while nobody stood there. Do not feel shame about that. Nobody ever told you it was your post. Now see yourself walking up and standing in the opening. Not tense, not braced for war, just present. This is your gate. It was always your gate. And now let something come up the road. Let it be one thing that has been walking through you every morning for the last year. You know what it is. Let it approach. And say the 3 words that are yours to say. Not this hour. Watch it. Stop. It does not fight you. Things that enter through an unguarded gate have no power at a guarded one. That is the entire nature of what they are. Now turn around and look at what is behind the gate. That is your day. That is your mind. That is the room. Everything you allow will spend the next 16 hours inside. And notice what you feel when you look at it as something you are responsible for rather than something that keeps happening to you. Then place one thing in that room, chosen by you, and open your eyes and bring the post back with you. Chosen one, hear this as we close. You were told to watch this before anything else today, and I want to tell you plainly why that was not a device to make you click. It was the message itself, because the order is the teaching, and if you had checked everything else first, you would have received these same words through a frame installed by somebody who has never met you. You received them clean. That is why this landed the way it did. And if I could put language to what I believe heaven has been saying over you in this season, and I offer it as my best understanding rather than as a prophecy, because I will not manufacture one for you, it would sound something like this. I did not give you a fragile life. I gave you a gate and a post and the authority to stand at it. You have been asking me to do the one thing I assigned to you, and I have been waiting, not because I am withholding, but because a person who is rescued from their own gate never learns that it was theirs. So let this go now. Let go of the years you filed under bad luck, which were 300 well-made decisions from inside a distorted picture. Let go of the word lazy, which was never accurate and was never yours. Let go of every abandoned morning routine and the verdict you passed on yourself each time. Let go of the belief that you are under siege and powerless. Let go of the mornings you have already lost, because there is one arriving in a few hours, and it does not know anything about the ones before it. And now, stand up on the inside and say what is true. I am the gatekeeper. The post is mine, and it always was. My first frame belongs to me. My day is not written by strangers. I answer the scan, and I place the first thing. Nothing enters before I have chosen. I am not under siege. I am awake at my post. My instrument is being restored, and what comes through me today comes through something clear. If that is yours, take it. Type "The gate is guarded" in the comments, and let it be a declaration and not a wish. And gently press like before you go. Not for me, because someone is going to wake tomorrow and hand the first 20 minutes of their life to a stranger for the 10,000th time, and this is how it reaches them. Now think of one person, someone who wakes already behind, someone who has said they are just not a morning person, as though it were a fact about their character rather than a description of an unguarded gate. Someone who is fighting a fog every single day and has quietly concluded that this is simply what adulthood is. Send this to them, and send it without a long explanation. Just the message. They may need it before anything else tomorrow, exactly as you needed it before anything else today. Chosen one, may the guard be awake at your gate. May the first thing that touches you tomorrow be something you chose. May the instrument be restored to the state it was in when you were a child, and everything was still possible. And may the day that follows be one you interpreted, rather than one that interpreted you. You were never under siege. You were asleep at a post that was always yours. Wake up, take it back, and so it is.